Oh my goodness, we are live on Facebook. Hey, Facebook group, how are you? And we are opening up now the door to the Zoom room. Hey, everybody, happy Sunday. It's an exciting day. Okay, I am so full of energy today. I'm actually just coming from church. It's Sunday at 12 o'clock, and we actually have live church here at Influence. So I actually, of all days, volunteered for the empowerment program. And that's our distribution center that we have here at Influence Church. So I am hot. It's actually 99 degrees here in Southern California.
Yes.
So many of you guys are jumping on from all over, many of you from the East Coast and from the South. So it's hot here in Southern California, but I'm fired up because whenever we give back, we are energized. And that's one thing we've talked about on this Elevate Your Energy 21-day challenge. Now, guys, I could just talk all day, but I have an incredibly wonderful guest that you're going to love. And I'm going to tell you a quick story. But all of you that are jumping on today, many of you are new. I know a lot of you are doing watch parties. For all of you that are new, I want to thank you for joining us in the 21-day challenge. We are in week 2, actually the end of week 2. We only have 1 week left of our 21-day challenge. So if you're new, I want to encourage you to find out more about this challenge and make sure that if you're interested, you can download this Wise Behavior Journal. It's a 21-day journal that walks you through your water intake, supplements, and exercise for 21 days. Because what we believe on this challenge is that you are a holistic being, body, soul, and spirit. And this Elevate Your Energy challenge is to teach you how to take all 3 compartments of yourself and to be holistically balanced, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So we've had guests that have walked us through fitness and nutrition. We've had brain scientists, we've had thought leaders, and today we have an incredible guest. Now, first of all, I want to introduce you to Marshall Morris. Hello, Marshall. You can all see him.
Hey,
he's got his name
everybody.
on his jacket in case you forget. We
In case
got
I
Marshall
forget.
right here. Marshall, I have to tell you, I'm standing at the empowerment program, putting food in the trunks of the people in our community. And I said, oh my gosh, I've got to get home. I've got the challenge. I've got the guy who actually started I Heart Dogs. And this woman turns to me, she goes, are you kidding me? My kids work for I Heart Dogs.
Which one?
And her name, her name escaped. Her name's Rose, is the mom, and 2 of her kids work for you. And she goes, they
Really?
love their job. And she goes, how do you know him? So what a small world.
Wow, I got to learn more about that.
Isn't it so cool when people are talking about you and how their kids work for you and how much they love their job?
That is cool. I love
that. That tells us a lot about your character and your passion and the attraction that people have to what you're doing. So I've said enough. Welcome and thank you for your time on this challenge. So I got up this morning and I actually started Googling you. And I started looking for anything I could to find on you that you haven't told me about you. And I actually found a couple really cool podcasts that you did and heard your backstory. So I hadn't heard a lot of that, Marshall. Can we start before we get to A Dog's Life and a little bit about who you are? Your backstory. I didn't know about the military and the passion there. So can you tell us a little bit about you? And then we'll get into the business aspect of our coaching time today.
Sure. I grew up in a pastor's home, so I identify with that. So servant-hearted people. And my dad was like, hey, he was the first one to go to college. My grandparents worked in a factory. There's no education on that side of the family. He was the only one. And he was like, hey, well, I paid for college. He went to Ohio State. So he's like, all right, you got to figure that out. So military wasn't, something I wanted to do. It's also would pay for college. So it was kind of 2 birds with 1 stone. So I joined the military, and actually 9/11 happened when I was in basic training. So like we're isolated from the world for a few months, and all of a sudden people are like, hey, something happened, right? And before I went in, the idea was like, I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna go my training. I was infantry and then go to college, and they're gonna fund that, right? That's how it works. Well, that day everything changed because everyone got activated, right? 9/11 just opened up, like you're in the military, you're out. So I never got to finish college, but I got deployed in the United States, not overseas, and had a lot of time to do reading. I had a top secret clearance. We were actually taking care of the planes here that were flying supplies overseas.
Wow.
And so fast forward, So growing up, one of the things I wanted to do is I really feel like I felt kind of that called into business. I like to be sales, but I love people and I love solving problems. And so one of the, through kind of just traveling and doing and working and things like that, doing whatever I could, without a college education to make money, I realized that like, hey, I can learn stuff and then people pay me for that stuff that I'm learning. Right. And so I really just launched my kind of, my value of education and learning and just learning skills and learning things that you can leverage. And so in 2000, so this fast forward. So in 2008, I just gotten married and to the love of my life. She's here somewhere in the house. And we had to start a business venture, but also the economy, if you guys remember, it was like the housing crisis, like a lot of things it's very similar to right now, right? We're just, all of a sudden it just shook hard. And we lost everything. And what we thought was everything, right? We lost everything. So we didn't have a home. We didn't have a car. We didn't have anything. I owed the IRS a lot of money and also had a lot of debt. So we were in this stuck spot. And that's the period of time where I really, and so I feel like God really, he humbled us pretty hard at that point in time. And he actually shook us and rebuilt us. Like that point, we felt like we were at the bottom. Like we felt like completely squeezed, no options. We were like literally there's nothing lower. We felt like, right? And I think God started from that point rebuilding us. And since then, through business and things, has used that experience to have a heart for those kind of people in those kind of situations, or heart for people who have purpose and passion or need a hand up, things like that. So that season of complete annihilation, like nothing, has really changed the way that we view the world, the way we operate in the world, and the principles we kind of live into in business and life and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was
say this, and one thing that everyone on this challenge knows, I've said it every day, is that smart people put smarter people around them. If you really want to learn, always have a pen in your hand and paper. Because I admire what you've done, and you've built an incredible company, and we're going to get to that. So I want to learn from you. And let me tell you the words. So I write down words when I listen to a podcast or I listen to a speaker, because these words explain who you are and what you did. So you talked about there was a crisis of 9/11. You talked about 3 words that you love: people, business, and service. So out of you came this love for people, and the fact that you had a heart for business. And you literally, we'll find out in a moment, the giving back, the service part. You said you love to learn. So you're always watching. I love how you said you were going to leverage. Do you see how I write down certain words? And then I go back and I say to myself, those words define Marshall Morris. What are the words define me and where I want to go? Because that's what passion and purpose are. If you find out the words that define you, you're going to know where you want to go in direction of life. You use the word stuck, which is a word I'm going to be sharing with you tomorrow in my coaching time with you. But you said God shook you and rebuilt you. And then I love what you said. You said, then you have a heart for people. Again, back to that word. So do you see right now how we literally are getting to know this man behind the movement of I Heart Dogs simply by his story? Well, take us to the next phase. So I remember you saying something about how you had, was it the website, or you had something that you ended up selling for 6 figures or something, and that kind of moved you forward. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, and this is one of those God moments too. So like, so after we started, without a college education, I had to kind of reprove myself. I felt like, no, maybe I didn't have to, but so I go, okay, well, I wanted something greater than just selling stuff, like as kind of we started, we feel like there's moments in life where it's like we're at the bottom or whatever, but life continues, and slow. There's ups and downs and there's seasons in life. And so the next season I just found myself like, I after going through that and actually having a lot removed to the point where you have better perspective on what matters, the same stuff did not appeal to me, I was searching for purpose, like something I connect my passion to, and I love learning and I love helping people. And so like, I know that like really the 3 things, when it boils down to, is I love solving problems, serving people, and bringing people together. Like that's, if I can do all 3 things, then I'm in my zone. Like I'm in my spot.
That's good.
So the first time was like, a friend said, hey, my buddy has a website, you should check it out. And like, I knew how to check my email. Like, that's it. Right. Like, that's it. So, but I knew that, like, and someone kept reminding me, hey, my friend has this website or whatever. And I said, okay. So I went to meet the guy, and the guy, like, I show up and like, he's sleeping in a closet. And like, it's just, it looks like a hoarder's den. And he's like, yeah, I have this thing. I'm helping people online. And this was more of like a site to help people kind of, it was a passion driven site. It was about people who really like performance cars and things like that. And for me, it's like, I'm not a car person. Like, I drive a car, right? Everyone does, but it's not my passion. But I saw the opportunity to solve problems, serve people, and bring people together in this community. So was my driver. So we started, and he's like, I can't pay you. I barely can pay rent. I was like, okay, well, you give me part of the company, and I'm going to work for free. And with the hope that, you know, we're going to be able to make this something bigger. And so like, we ended up in 3 years, we actually ended up selling to an investment firm, which is beyond like, you don't think that, right? You, okay, well, let's see what happens. And then, you know, God's kind of moved me into the next cycle, the next thing. And where I'm at now is, I had 2 job offers, and I met a friend of mine. His name's Justin. He's now my partner. And we connected. Like, sometimes God will connect you spiritually with people, and you'll feel that connection, and you won't know what it is. And it's maybe not for that season, might be for the next season, but he'll connect to you. And there's a seamless connection with that person. So I felt that, and actually he offered me a job, and I had another job, and it's weird because I took the other job over his. And so, and then, you know, God processed me and used me there too. 2 years later, I was running with a friend, and the friend said, hey, you know that guy, Justin? I go, yeah, because I remember in my spirit, I connected with him. Like, this is a good guy. He said, hey, he's doing this thing, and he's overwhelmed, and it had to do with the dogs. Like, and so I go, okay, well, I called him. And so I met him, and he's like, hey, I'm completely overwhelmed, you know. And then I look at it and I saw exactly what I love, which is solving problems, serving people, and bringing people together. And I thought, like, hey, there's one thing anyone can agree on, it's dogs. Like, that's like in the world, period, right? Like, there's one thing, you bring a puppy, doesn't matter how much people don't like each other, they're cool in that moment. So, but it's also a way to serve people. I think that dogs give us like the way that they provide comforts is a very unique thing. I think it is from God. Like, God gives us certain things. And I think that dogs are one of those things. They just do. They give us a model of unconditional love and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. So I said, dude, this is amazing. You have this thing. Like, and I had these ideas. And he was like, whoa, like, you know, God will put people together different. It's kind of like marriage, right? We're like, you have a balance, right? And so me and him are really a balance. And so he's like, whoa, like, this is scary. And so God woke me up one morning and said, hey, I want you to give him a plan. I mean, you need to give him a plan. So at 5 a.m., he's like, here's the plan. So I wrote it down, you know, just felt that internal, okay. And I presented it to him because I'm a visionary, so I'm very abstract in thought. And he's more of an analytical person, so he needed that communication written. So I gave it to him, and then he was like, whew, man. And I said, look, at that point in time, someone had been trying to buy the business. This is 6 years ago. And I was like, this is because he would have it would be successful at that point for him and his family. I said, hey, you can do this. I just feel like there's something bigger here. There's more people to serve. Like, there's more opportunity. And finally, and I love wives. His wife was like, just make a decision. Like, you're just on the fence for Marshall. Make a decision. He says, I'm in. So I said, okay, let's do this. And we start putting this together. And from day one, we wanted to basically, that we call the company owns is called Home Life. And that's because we wanted to give everyone a home life like we wanted when we worked. Like, we wanted to give them the ability to spend more time with the family. We wanted to be able to give them reprieve from stress, right? Give them a great, safe working environment where they're respected. Give them roles that they can be passionate and pour into, right? And then connect everybody together as an organization, serve people in a global, big way. And so the business is called Home Life, and Home Life has the I Heart Dogs, I Heart Cats. And so we brought this ethos down into it. That's light. And so like our 4 core values are humility, tenacity, adaptability, and generosity. And we do a lot of generous stuff with our communities. And so from there, it just started. It was 2 dudes in a coffee shop, and now we have 60 employees. Wow. So
Okay,
definitely.
we gotta break down some of these things. Okay, now stay with
Okay.
me, guys, because again, this coaching is so good, and you've just said so many things. So let's test. You talked about. I'd love this. The guy that you were with initially. See, you found your passion in his project.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Mm-hmm.
some of you aren't passionate about where you are or what you're doing. Take your passion and bring it to the project. It may
Yep.
not even be your passion,
Mm-hmm.
but take what you do and bring it to. And you've said 3 times now, and I want to make sure I get them, because you talk about you like solving problems, loving people, and
Serve,
serving.
serving people and bringing people together. Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you all listened? In 15 minutes we've been on this, Marshall has at least said that 3 times, because he knows his focus, he knows his passion. And I'm telling you right now, part of the clarity of elevating your energy is knowing what you bring to the table, and you
Mm-hmm.
articulate it. You say it over and over and over until it becomes a manifestation of your life. You
Mm-hmm.
breathe it, think it, sleep it, say it. And it's who you are. So when we look at you, we know how you are successful. And I actually, in the notes I sent to you, one of the things I said is that I totally see in you focus and passion. And I personally met with you a few times on the, the website side, and how do we,
Mm-hmm.
the whole social media side, because you're
Mm-hmm.
so good at that. But do you feel that with me, everybody? Are you listening to me? He's articulating who he always was. And he's just found a place to manifest who he is.
Yeah.
And so from that came I Heart Dogs.
Yep. And I'll say this too. This is so, like what you just said, this is something for everybody. I came from a servant-minded family where we emphasize like so much, like we emphasize being a servant too much, right?
Yeah.
Being like, the concept of servant was too low. So I think a lot of times our perception of self is actually keeping us from the possibilities of our future, because
The perception of ourself is keeping us from the possibilities of our future.
yeah, because what's happening is we people see us how we see ourselves. This is the reality. Okay, this is an example. I've been asked to speak in front of groups and groups of millionaires, and I've been like, why are they asking me? Like, what? You know what I mean? Just because I felt like, what do I have? What value do I have to give? But that was my perception. When I can move past that, when I speak in front of them, like the response is really empowering, because it's like they saw me as I was, even if I didn't see me like that. So I think our perception of ourself is one of the biggest things that will get in our way.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us bring that from our wiring or our past, or how we were treated in relationships, or whatever. And so
that's so good. Marshall, do you remember this last Rocky movie? We love the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
We took all our grandkids, we're sitting there watching it. And I remember the scene when Rocky took him over to the mirror. And he said, until you beat the man in the mirror, you will never beat an opponent.
It's true. It's
and
true.
It's so good, because it's the man
so
in the mirror,
true.
the woman in the mirror, that we are contending with so often.
Mm-hmm. Probably the most, our biggest battle's internal.
Yeah.
Biggest one.
Yep. Okay. We could just talk forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I have to tell this funny story. We were at church and we were chatting, and Phil told me about you. And I didn't know anything about I Heart Dogs. And I was mentioning it to my daughter, who is the biggest dog lover in the world. And it was almost like she could not believe that we knew you. I mean, she's been ordering product from you forever. And she just
awesome.
so I had to go to your website. And if you've not checked out I Heart Dogs, you know what it did is it made me, it's so sweet, and it's so informative, and it's funny, and it's sad at times, and the stories. So if you're a pet lover, man, dogs, cats, whatever, but tell us a little bit about the site, because it's not really dog food. It's everything but dog food, right? I think, or tell me about the site.
Yeah. So we started with, so we really want to do is serve people where they are. So and we also, because pets are really family, like we care for them, we're responsible for them, we're connected to them. Their presence in our life is substantial, right? That's why we're emotionally connected to them, because they're so present in our lives, and they reinforce such positive emotion, that we wanted to create products and services that were the best possible, period, right? Like that, because we were like, look, if we actually are going to serve our community, let's give them a way to serve their family, like their family members, right? And so, and we want a place that they could come where they could just literally just trust, like, these guys are looking out for me, right? These people are looking out for me. And so, so we started, and so we have a whole line of everything from, like, you can imagine. So we have supplements to toys and fun. We have stuff for people to celebrate their pets. They're like, hey, I love my dog, like, just fun stuff. But everything gives back to the community, to shelters and rescues, which is our community focus in a measurable way. So everything you do, so like you buy a shirt, maybe it's 14 shelter dogs get fed. You buy a toy, we donate a toy to a shelter, and things like that. So everything goes back, but it's products we built that we wanted, just for our dogs and cats, and we wanted to make sure that we could serve our people like that too, and then also serve the needs of the community, which is the shelters and rescues who are trying to find homes for pets.
Which is so good, Marshall, because that's one of the 3 words that you keep saying over and over, serving others. And so you're serving others by serving our community and everything else. So you just said something that was a, like when you walk in a room and you switch on the light and you see everything. I just had a switch on the light moment. Because you said we were going to be better than anyone else. There would be no one better than us. I love that. Listen, everybody, because until you go in with a mindset that there'll be no one better than you in your field, most of us just go into it going, man, if I can make it. But you started with the mindset, we'll be the best. And you are the best in this field. You're the biggest and you're the best because it was your goal to start with. And I'm telling you, coaching right there.
Yeah. And I'll say I love that. One thing is, like, you can be there, like, you can exercise that thought with humility. I think there's a thought that if I'm going to believe I'm better than everyone else, or I can be better, that's not humble. That's actually not true. You can be proud and not prideful. Yes. And in the same way, you can exercise humility, but also hold yourself to excellence, right? And that's okay. And I think that's actually, for me, that was something I had to break through. That was a breakthrough I had to have. It's like, you can go out and say, I'm going to be the best, and still be humble, and still love people and serve people. And not be a jerk, right?
So good. And something when I do my coaching, one thing I love to say is there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Totally. See, when I walk in a room, I want someone to see a confident woman, not an arrogant woman. Because confidence is attractive. Confidence in, I know who I am, I know my assignment, but I never want to be arrogant. And you can tell the difference in the two. I want to segue to something else, and then we've asked everyone to leave us with 3 coaching questions, but I'm going to do a full disclosure and a rat on my husband here. First of all, I just want to publicly thank you because you are such a champion of people, and many people that are watching this, I just interviewed Phil yesterday and it was amazing, but we talked about American faith and how timely American faith is. So I want to thank you because you were instrumental in speaking into my husband, actually helping find the URL and finding the URL and encouraging him to step out in an area that he has an expertise and he has a passion. And so when you see that in someone else, champion other people, because you just did that for my husband. And so I set that up with the story because we have had pets. We don't have one currently. We are empty nesters, children and pets right now. But I remember we had a little dachshund, a precious little dachshund we had for 17 years. And when you confide everything in that dog, I mean, I'm telling you what, our little dog knew everything about every family member I was ever met. And literally when she was getting ready we knew she was going to pass away. We had moments with her before we took her in. And I literally just took her in and just like, I told her things I never told Phil or my children or anyone else. And I've seen my husband cry 3 times in all of our years of marriage. And when he took our little dog down, literally he broke down crying when he took our dog in to be put to sleep. And he was so emotional, Marshall, he forgot to pay the bill. He ran out of there because he just couldn't compose himself. And they called a little while later and said, Mr. Hudson, I'm so sorry, but you need to come back and pay the bill. And I say that to your point that our pets, I believe, are a gift from God. I believe that sometimes there's something there, and they're not our children or our spouses or our friends or colleagues, but it's just a little extra that God gives us. So if you have a pet, you may know exactly what I'm talking about, but I wanted to tell that story on the sensitive side of my tough, strong husband. Animals can actually find a place in our heart that no one else can. And it's a beautiful, so we have a few moments left. Can you give us some coaching We got 5 minutes, and I want just
Yep.
those 3 takeaways from you that you want to say to our audience right now.
Yeah, and I think that for me, when I was thinking about what I'm going to talk about, it actually has to do with passion. And so I like Phil. I like where words come from. If you look at passion, it actually came from Latin pati or patio, which means to suffer.
Mm.
And it's a strong and bearable, it's a strong and barely controllable emotion. If you look at the definition, the funniest thing is the first time it was used in Latin was in the Bible describing the death of Jesus. And
Mm.
so passion's powerful. So there's 3 things that I've learned about passion that I want to share with you. One was you can't be passionate for something unless you're willing to suffer for it.
Wow.
There are times in this business, we love what we're doing, we love people. There's a couple years ago where we didn't know if we're going to make it. Like we literally, someone said, "Hey, you lost $500,000 last month." Like, and so like in those moments, we had to suffer through that to learn. We had to find advice and wisdom and counsel and drive. And there's times where I didn't feel like showing up. Like I was scared. There's times where I would just lay on the floor, like, what do I do? But I would just go and just show up. Like I would just walk into the building and do what I need to do, even if I didn't feel like it, because I knew I needed to get through this.
Wow.
I think that is it. The second thing I'll tell you guys is you can't be passionate for something unless you're willing to give 100% of yourself to it. And so passion is tied to your purpose. Just like everyone has a gift, what you feel you're passionate about is unique to you. And it's not, so your passion is gonna be different than mine. And that's the best part about it. And there's a lot of talk in the world about find your passion, but it's actually true. It's like God's given you a passion, and it may come from experience, it may come from your history, it may come from the way you're raised or wired or what you've learned, but your passion is uniquely you. And you really can't be passionate for something unless you give 100% of yourself to it. And I've learned that too. And so that's something that I feel like actually creates way more power in your passion when you're completely dedicated to it. And it's just like Jesus suffered. He was 100% committed. And I say the third thing I would tell you guys is you can't be passionate for something unless you're willing to accept its destination for your life, no matter what. So like one of the questions Tammy was going to ask me is like, did I think I was going to be in the dog business? No. Yeah. I think I was in the car business. No. Would I have chosen that? I mean, dogs is the easy one to choose, right? Because it's awesome. But I probably would not have chosen those. Like if you lied about it, I'd be like, I want that. It's because I followed the passion, which was like serving people, solving problems, and bringing people together. And so I followed that passion, and I was willing to fall into areas which I didn't think I would ever, like I never was like, I'm going to grow up and make dog treats, but I followed the passion, and I was willing to accept its destination for my life no matter what. And that's where I landed. And the thing is, God's going to take your passion and drive you into purpose that you're not going to think, you're not going to be able to plan, you're not going to be able to think about, it's not going to be on your radar, but it's actually going to be the best thing that's ever happened to you. But you got to be willing to go with it.
Wow.
So.
Wow, Marshall, you know what? If you didn't get anything out of any of these 21 days so far, that was it. That was my takeaway. And especially since you equate it with Christ and passion. So listen, everybody, if you didn't get those, and put these in the chat, somebody that's really good at typing fast. Number one, this whole thing with passion, be willing to suffer. That was so good because most of us give up. One thing I know in coaching people, you hit that obstacle, you hit that wall, and you can't push through. You don't want to push through. You don't have the tenacity. So you turn a corner and you're not willing to suffer through it. The next one, to give 100%. And how many of us, we are not giving 100% right now. We're wondering why we're failing because we're not giving 100% to the passion. And then third, accept the destination. And you know what? I love that because again, you said you didn't think it was going to be dogs. You love dogs. You're glad it's dogs. But if we equate these, I just want to bring this back. It's Sunday. So if you weren't in church today, here's your message. That's what Jesus did. He was willing to suffer. He gave 100% and he accepted the destination, which was the cross for you. So that'll preach. That's a hallelujah moment. That was so good, Marshall. But you know what? He was our example. He gave me that word this morning. He's been giving me all these words lately. And the word for me literally was example. And I did a whole cross-reference from the word of God on the word example. And this is the example Christ gave. So why should we do any less? In your passion for your business, how about this, friend that's listening? What about your passion for your marriage right now? Are you I don't know why God just laid that on my heart. I got to say this. Are you willing to suffer, even in your marriage. If it meant that you had to push through and give 100% and be happy with the destination. I mean, this is where God has us in business, in marriage, in relationship, right now in COVID. We are in uncertain times right now, guys, but do you have the passion and the purpose to push through to the destination that God has for you? This is, wow. This has been so good, Marshall. And no wonder you have a doggone good life.
Thank you.
Did you like the title I gave you? How one man turned a setback into a doggone good life. So, hey guys, if you don't have a dog, go get a pet. I got to be praying on this one. And then check out the website. It's amazing. And I love the little unicorn dog. I saw that one today on the site. What a great story that was. So guys, we appreciate you being here. Tomorrow, listen everybody, stay with me 1 second. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock, I'm going to be bringing you a coaching session, and I'm going to be sharing something I'm very excited about with you. So please be with me tomorrow at noon. Do some watch parties, invite your friends. This 21-day challenge, so many of you have told me has changed your life. And it's been so powerful. So please be with us again tomorrow. I'm going to give you some really good coaching. And then for those of you that are in our VIP room, we're going to click off this link, jump back on to our link for our Zoom room, and you have the opportunity to ask Marshall some one-on-one questions. So make it a great day. Take everything Marshall's just told us, go back and watch this. It's up for 24 hours on our Facebook group, and take some time to think about where God wants to take you. Have a great day, Marshall. I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.